My name is Dr. Maria Alice Masciarelli. I'm a 2013 DNP graduate of the university, and I am the current president of the Chi Alpha chapter. On behalf of myself and my fellow board members, I would like to welcome all of you to the chapter Spring Educational Forum, as well as all the other events that will be held this evening, as you can see on the slide. I want to point out that all of the events are also being video streamed, and so we also have attendees online, and I'd like to welcome them at this time. I also want to thank the university, American Sentinel University faculty. They have a busy day. They've had the open house, and this evening they have faculty events with also the Board of Trustees. And so I thank them for taking time out of their busy schedule and being here. So at this time, let me introduce Dr. Stti Jeffers, who is our presenter for this evening's chapter educational forum. She is not only a scholar, but also a great nurse leader. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Eastern University in Pennsylvania, a Master's of Science in Nursing, and a PhD from Villanova University in Pennsylvania. Her doctoral dissertation was Nurse Faculty Perceptions of End-of-Life Education in the Clinical Setting, a phenomenological perspective. She is currently assistant professor at Widener University in Pennsylvania with specialization area in medical surgical nursing. In the last year, she was a scholar at the Nurse Faculty Leadership Academy, which is administered by Sigma Theta Tau International, and she has received many other honors and awards. She has also received many research grants and awards. She has 3 publications and has been the reader of many dissertation proposals. Today's presentation is only one of many presentations that Dr. Jeffers has done throughout the nation and internationally. Let us welcome her as she talks to us about igniting your passion for nursing practice and scholarship and service.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Good evening and congratulations on your induction into the Chi Alpha chapter of Sigma Theta Tau International. It's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this organization, and it's a testament to your scholarship. I would like to thank Dr. Monica Kidder and also the board members of the Chi Alpha chapter for inviting me to this presentation. The mission of the Honor Society of Nursing, the Sigma Theta Tau International, is advancing world health and celebrating excellence in scholarship, leadership, and service. This evening, I would like to share with you my experience in these areas to illustrate the potential for your own scholarship, leadership, and service in the future. First, I would like to paint a picture for you. And for the nurses out there, you probably have had a patient or two like this in the past. As a registered nurse, you will encounter many patients over your career. Some patients come and go, and others will leave an imprint on your heart. Without even realizing it, you will have an experience with a patient that will shape your professional career and lead you down a path you may have never expected. I'm going to share with you a patient story and how this particular patient influenced my scholarship, leadership, and service to the profession of nursing. About 15 years ago, I was working as a staff nurse on a pulmonary unit. This type of unit provided care for patients with various lung diseases, cancer, and long-term mechanical ventilation patients. I worked every weekend, 2 12-hour shifts. For about 4 weeks, I had a patient we're going to call Charlie. Charlie was in his early 60s, and he suffered a devastating hemorrhagic stroke. He had a bleed in his brain that caused severe intracranial swelling, and he even suffered a cardiac arrest. He was resuscitated and brought to surgery where they removed part of his skull to relieve the pressure. He lived through this event, but not without severe deficits. Charlie was in a permanent vegetative state. He lived because he had a tracheostomy which was connected to a ventilator to breathe for him, and he had a feeding tube to sustain his nutrition. Over time, he developed severe contractures of his upper and lower extremities. Both of his arms and legs were twisted. Charlie had developed multiple areas of skin breakdown and required wound care 3 times a day. Charlie had no meaningful interaction with me or anybody else. He only grimaced when he experienced pain. For almost a year, Charlie existed this way, living in a nursing home near the hospital. When he would develop pneumonia or some other infection, he would come and visit us for about 4 to 6 weeks. I took care of Charlie every weekend when I worked. I talked to him as I provided wound care, when I turned him, or when I was just being in the room with him. 4 weekends had gone by without a single visitor. As time went on, I felt a sense of moral distress. I felt as though I was torturing him, and that was not fair to him. Charlie was existing but not living. He had no quality of life, and he was also a full code, which means that if his heart stopped or he stopped breathing, then I was going to have to fully resuscitate him. And I frequently asked myself, why? One day, a visitor did show up, an elderly gentleman in his early 80s. It was Charlie's father. I watched him as he sat in the room and did not interact with Charlie. After only 5 minutes, the man started to leave. At that moment, I decided I should speak to this man on Charlie's behalf. I approached the father, introduced myself, and said, "Charlie's not going to get better. He often appears to be in pain. Have you given any thought to maybe discontinuing treatment and letting him go peacefully?" The father replied, "Actually, Charlie and I talked about this before he had his stroke, but he didn't write it down and he didn't fill out a living will, so I don't want to be the one to pull the plug." This moment was the beginning of something that I did not anticipate. I felt a strong desire and need to advocate for Charlie and all patients who do not have a voice. That day, I consulted the ethics committee at our hospital. I wanted an outside group of people to review his case and perhaps offer a solution. The ethics committee did meet with the family and the physician, but they were unable to come to terms. While these groups of people were discussing his case, Charlie suffered a cardiac arrest. He was resuscitated and sent to the ICU. There, he coded a second time and was resuscitated once again. It seemed like Charlie was trying to let go, and yet the healthcare team and his family would not let him. Finally, an agreement was made to make Charlie a do not resuscitate, and a few days later, Charlie passed away. Right about now, you're probably wondering, how does this patient's story relate to scholarship, or leadership, or service? From my time working with Charlie, observing other nurses caring for him and patients in similar situations, I noticed a pattern. Nurses were not comfortable addressing end-of-life care issues with their families or patients. They were not comfortable caring for dying patients. They were not comfortable advocating for patients or communicating patient wishes to physicians or families. You see, Charlie is really the one that sparked my spirit of inquiry. I wanted to know why nurses felt that way. What was the cause for anxiety surrounding the care of dying patients? How can we help nurses recognize that caring for a dying patient is equally as important as saving a life? I began to read research articles on nurses and dying patients. At that time, I was also enrolled in school working toward my Master of Science in Nursing Education. All the papers I wrote were surrounding this topic. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more. I wanted to make a difference in end-of-life nursing education for current nurses as well as for nursing students. So what is the evidence? Nurses will encounter dying patients and their families numerous times during their career, regardless of specialty area. Knowledge of medications, symptom management, spiritual and cultural assessment, and communication are among the key competencies for nurses caring for a dying patient. In addition, the manner in which the nurse provides care to the dying patient can promote a positive death experience for both the patient and the family. Proficiency in caring for the dying patient is expected. However, many nurses report apprehension when caring for the dying patient due to insufficient end-of-life education in their pre-licensure program. Studies have shown that nurses required more education on the process of dying and how to manage patient symptoms, cultural considerations, and awareness of their own values and beliefs about death and dying. Communication at the end of life was an area cited as difficult by registered nurses. While nurses reported that communication was an essential skill, experience with having these discussions with patients and families related to death and dying was a challenging task. Insufficient communication at the end of life may lead to a late hospice referral, aggressive care of a terminally ill patient, or decreased patient advocacy. The major reason for the lack of proficiency in communication at end-of-life care was cited by registered nurses as inadequate end-of-life education at the pre-licensure level. This shortfall in end-of-life education in pre-licensure programs leads to registered nurses feeling anxious and inadequate about caring for the dying patient. Pre-licensure programs have been slow to integrate end-of-life care in their curricula. It's been reported that faculty feel unprepared to teach students this content, leading to student anxiety when caring for a dying patient. Didactic teaching strategies and simulation is cited frequently in the literature as a means to educate students on end-of-life care. Simulation as a teaching strategy for nursing students provides psychomotor skill, development of cognitive skills such as critical thinking, and affective learning. The objectives of simulation reported by researchers included identification of physical changes as death approached, nursing interventions to promote comfort, communication skills with the patient and the family, and a development of a plan of care for the dying patient. There is a lack of research examining nursing students' experiences with hospice or palliative care in the clinical setting. This may be due to several factors, including barriers to acquiring a hospice as a clinical site or assigning a dying patient to a student. These barriers may include staff, patient, family, or faculty comfort level, or a lack of knowledge to teach these concepts. After graduating with my MSN, I taught clinical for about 6 years, and during that time I incorporated lectures on care of the dying patient in clinical post-conferences. I also made sure that if there was a dying patient on the unit, students would have the opportunity to care for the patient as well as participate in interdisciplinary team meetings. When I decided to pursue my PhD, my research focus was on end-of-life nursing education. I interviewed clinical faculty about their experiences teaching nursing students about caring for dying patients. The participants in that study shared many stories about teaching nursing students and their personal experiences with their own family members who had died. The participants stated that the student beliefs about end-of-life care were often transformed after having that experience. This type of care was viewed as an essential component of nursing care and one that should be required of all students before graduation. Today I teach undergraduate nursing students about end-of-life care in class and continue to conduct research on teaching strategies to address this topic. I completed a research study in December with senior nursing students at my university. The students were given an opportunity to attend a hospice clinical day as part of their clinical for medical surgical nursing. There, the students provide care to the dying patients, communicated with patients, families, and the healthcare team, and also provided psychosocial and spiritual support during the patient's final hours. I collected data with 3 tools. The demographics tool picked up the age, religion, gender of the students, any prior experience that they may have had with a dying patient in clinical, and did they have any formal education prior to this hospice clinical day. Student attitudes towards care of the dying patient were measured with a tool called the FACOD tool, which consists of 30 items scored on a 5-point scale. The instrument's made up of an equal number of positively and negatively worded items. So the higher the score, the more positive the attitude. The reflection journal provided qualitative data pertaining to students' feelings and experiences related to the assigned teaching strategy. Students were asked to write a narrative to answer a few questions before and after the clinical day in the hospice. How do you feel about caring for a dying patient? What are your expectations regarding a hospice experience? What fears do you have about caring for a dying patient? And how did you feel after the experience? So 134 senior nursing students participated in this study. The mean age was 22. Most of the students were female. Most of them were Caucasian, 87%, and 85% were Christian. Also part of the demographic data, 61% of the students said they did have prior clinical experience with a dying patient, which I was kind of thrilled about. 55% said they had a personal experience either with a family member or a friend that had passed away. And also 91% said that of those particular experiences, they were there when it happened. And 83% of the students said they had no formal education at all on end-of-life care prior to the hospice clinical day. The quantitative results, the mean scores on the FACOD tool actually improved, which was statistically significant, and basically this just means that the students' attitudes after the hospice clinical day had improved from prior to going to the hospice. The qualitative data, which is what I'm mostly interested in, showed a lot of interesting things. The students were required to complete the reflection journal before and after the clinical day. So as you can imagine, a majority of the students wrote about being anxious, scared, intimidated by the mere thought of having to provide care to someone who was dying. These themes suggest that there's a strong emotional component to end-of-life care. Students did not discuss the hands-on or the physical aspects of care, but how to communicate effectively and with compassion. In addition, they discussed provision of comfort during the grieving period. The physical aspects of end-of-life care were not discussed and did not seem to be a concern for the students. Communication was an overwhelming subtheme. Students reported feeling unprepared to communicate with a dying patient and their family. They were concerned with what the patient or family would say to them, how they might respond, or what they should say. Many students stated that they did not have the right words or would not know how to answer. One student said, "Every time I have had a dying patient in clinical, I've honest to God prayed, please don't die on me today." Another student reported, "I'm afraid I won't know what to say to a patient or their family when they begin to talk about death, end of life, or spirituality." After the hospice clinical day, they completed another reflection journal, and the major theme for that was transforming perspectives. A lot of the students still had mixed emotions, but they did feel more confident with communication with the patients and their families, and they felt that it was a positive experience. One student said, "I was concerned that I would not know what to say or that I would say the wrong thing. Looking back on my experience, I learned that finding the right words to use just comes in the moment." Another student said, "I felt sad about what the patient and family were going through, but I also felt empowered by their strength." And finally, one student said, "I went in sensing it would be a cold, heartless place where people went to die. I was pleasantly surprised my predetermined thoughts were wrong or misguided." So as you can see, Charlie started me down this path. One patient, one moment can change your view, start a new journey. Scholarship is so important in this profession. Without it, we would not have the evidence to support our practice. If you are curious about something, ask questions. Read nursing research journals to find the answers. And if you cannot find the answer, think about conducting your own research. You have joined an organization that supports nursing research. There are numerous mentors within Sigma Theta Tau and your Chi Alpha chapter to help you along the way. Use those resources. Be a leader in the profession of nursing. You may not want to conduct research, and that's okay, but you can lead nurses on the hospital units. Be a role model for excellence in nursing care and patient advocacy. Find something that you're passionate about and learn all you can about it. How can you use that passion to improve patient outcomes? Think about ways you can be an agent of change. Again, connect with your Chi Alpha members and collaborate on projects. This may lead you into new and exciting directions that you never thought of before. Perhaps it will lead you back to school for an advanced degree, a leadership position within your institution, or even at the national level with Sigma Theta Tau. Pay attention to what excites you and about nursing and follow that curiosity. The last pillar of Sigma Theta Tau is service. So when you find your passion, use that to give back to patients, families, nurses, or the profession. Volunteer your time on committees within the hospital to improve patient care outcomes. Serve on boards within professional organizations. There are organizations for every specialty area, including nursing education. Work with other leaders in nursing to make a change. That one patient can influence your entire career. I never thought I would be standing here telling you about Charlie. He lives on through my work as I teach undergraduate nursing students about the various aspects of end-of-life care, such as ethics, communication, symptom management, pain, the final hours, and letting go. He lives on through my research as I continue to seek answers to questions such as what are the best teaching strategies for end-of-life care? What do RNs feel that they are missing in their education? How can we as nurses do a better job addressing the needs of the dying patient and their families? Charlie lives on as I continue to try to make a difference in nursing education and the future of nursing. So congratulations again on your induction into Chi Alpha. This is a significant achievement. Continue to participate in chapter activities. Learn from your members. Find your passion, nurture it, watch it grow, and be a leader. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Devers? I'll start with one. Given the fact that we know that most of our healthcare expenses are during the last few years of life, what, as nursing leaders, do you think we can do to increase education, both for nurses but also our other allied professional peers, so that we can facilitate and improve that quality of life those last couple of years?
Actually, the majority of, especially Medicare funding and other funding, is spent in the last few weeks of life. Because people would choose to die in their own home, but it doesn't happen. So they're in ICU, they're in critical care units, they're in all these hospital settings. And from a nursing perspective, so if you're a nurse at the bedside, I would say the best answer is to educate the patient and the family that they have other options. Because, I feel that physicians are all about, we're going to do everything we can for you, but they're not looking at, well, this is really not going to help. So as a nurse at the bedside, I would often talk to the families and say, what is it that you want? What does the end of your life look like to you? People don't think about that, and it's important to talk about your own mortality, and I hope that this topic isn't too much of a downer, but I think it's really important that we talk about it because it's still such a taboo subject. So staff nurses have a really important role because they're right there with the patient and the interdisciplinary team. So the staff nurse is important. The nurse manager is important. Anybody that's involved in education in the hospital setting or in academia needs to be more involved with saying, hey, we need to talk more about this.
I don't want to be the one doing all the talking. Come on, we are all nurses. We've all had experiences. Anyone want to share their experience?
Well, I also teach in an ADN program, and we have an excellent opportunity for our students to go and attend an end-of-life simulation where they have real people acting out different scenarios, and they talk about hospice versus palliative care. So the students have an excellent opportunity to see where they can make a bigger difference in that patient's lives.
Absolutely. And that's really important to have the simulation. So the other piece of this study, like this is a really bigger study than what I mentioned here, was that some of the students did simulation, but their preference was to be doing it in clinical. But the problem with hospice clinical is that there's a very small number of patients at any given time. They only want 1 or 2 students at a time. Or they're just hesitant to bring in students, so it's difficult. And the other thing is that I wanted them to have a hospice clinical because, you know, it's hit or miss in med-surg. So if they're learning about it in med-surg, you know, might not see any and then graduate. And I don't want a nurse to graduate and then have that first experience and not have any support. If they have the support while they're in school, they'll have the clinical instructor to help them debrief and talk about it, you know, cry through it, whatever the experience might be. But they'll have support. You might not always have support if you're a new nurse and you're doing all these different things and everybody else is busy, and then they don't know what to do. So, yes.
Hi, I just wanted to talk about quickly about a personal experience that I had. I have been a nurse for 33 years when my 26-year-old son was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I went through his treatments with him and everything, and he died at home when he was 28. That experience, even though I had cared for many dying patients over my 33 years of nursing, gave me a different perspective on caring for the dying patient. And it was a terrible and yet a wonderful experience both at the same time. That's the way that I describe it.
And that's really important that you said that, because the experience that they have could be very positive or it could go the other way. We don't want it to go the other way. We want it to be a nice, as positive as you can make it,
Right.
you know. So, yeah.
I just want to say, I work for a company, a registered nurse as well. She's actually on me inducted, I'm her cheerleader. I'm a registered nurse as well in the state of Missouri, and I work for a company that takes care of all of the incarcerated individuals. And I just want to say that it's a completely forgotten population by end-of-life care and hospice workers.
Mhm.
We have hospice programs in our prisons, and as educators, if there's any educators inside this room that teach at schools, it's a huge resource for your clinical education if anybody wants to tap into it.
Okay, that's great.
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
I'm actually a registered nurse also. As you've done your research and done the background on hospitality care and the lack of education in facilities, has anyone got the torch to develop any type of program in facilities that you've been working in to educate the nurses that are coming in, or have you yourself possibly developed a program?
I was doing that a lot when I was a staff nurse because I was working on my PhD while I was being, at the bedside. So I would do that. I don't know if anybody picked it up after that, but the hospitals around, so I'm from Philadelphia area, a lot of them have palliative care programs. So they're either run by a nurse practitioner or a physician, but a lot of them are nurse practitioners, thanks. And they're very much involved. And so if we have students go there for clinical, I coordinate the critical care medical surgical course. I tell all the clinical instructors, I'm like, have them go and, at least do an interdisciplinary meeting or something so they get more involved. But it's really difficult. So we acquired 2 new clinical sites for this study, and it was really hard getting them. Like, one was easy to get, but the other one took like 6 months just to sign the contract. And I didn't think it was going to happen. But we're continuing with it, so I'm really happy that they really enjoyed the experience. They liked having students. I'm like, great. But it was hard to break in. So hopefully that'll be a little easier now.
Yes, ma'am. I like the answer that you gave when she asked about what you could do. I just want to say, as a mistake to say, a Because people were afraid because they thought I knew, because I was a nurse, but I'm a person.
Right.
So,
Your daughter first. Yeah, hospice is not initiated at all like the way it should be. Like you said, 2 days. Nobody's getting the full benefit of that at all. So yes, definitely have the conversation. Don't be afraid to talk about it.
I was a hospice nurse, and I have very much respect for the women who can do it long term. I wasn't able to. How do we get the doctors on board?
Well, that's the million-dollar question now, isn't it? That's probably not right to say, but when I was a staff nurse, and I never worked in hospice, people always assume, oh, you must have been a hospice nurse. I'm like, no, I worked on the floor, but I've seen lots of people die just in a regular unit. I mean, I did oncology, I did trauma, I did pulmonary, so I was all over the place, and just, things happen, or they don't get referred to hospice in a timely manner. So I would talk to the families, and I remember particularly at this institution where Charlie was, that there's one physician that was completely like full, we're gonna do full everything, I don't care if you're 110 years old, you're a full code kind of guy, So I kind of went around them, I've talked to the family and say, look, this is all the information that I have. If you want to talk to the physician, then go for it. And sometimes they went back and forth and butted heads a little bit with the physician, but if the nurse is there providing the support, I mean, we're there for 12 hours, the physician comes in for 5 minutes.
True.
So it's just education. It's just saying, hey, look, this is an option. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, but at least you have the information to make the choice, And they might not know. Otherwise, they might not have any idea. Anybody else? Thank you.
As you can see, there are a lot of topics in nursing that we can all be leaders in and take on a scholarly project. When it comes to end of life and patient care, I think, I'm a clinician and an administrator. And one of the things that we do not do enough of, and Dr. Jeffers talked about, and our colleague there who was a hospice nurse, is how do we empower our patients and families? Not only at the moment where there's already the episode of death, but early. Advanced directives are an excellent way to introduce the topic. And yet, we wait for people to be older. Death can happen anytime, 26 or 28-year-old. So we need to engage our patients in that kind of discussion. So any nurse in any setting can do that empowering. And can you imagine if the patient is educated and the family? Who cares about the doctors? The patients will tell them what they want. The patients will tell them what it is how they want to die, what they want for their last minutes. I've had individuals who had their whole obituary, the whole funeral planned prior to dying. That is the way to go. But it is up to us nurses with our knowledge and our leadership to engage them in that arena and in those kinds of discussions early on before it becomes an emotional situation. Because yes, death is very emotional for most of us as human beings. It's part of our human nature of denying death. Some people do it really well in accepting it, but a lot of them do not. So let's engage in those discussions early on, and we can definitely make a difference. So I want to thank Dr. Jeffers for bringing that topic forward. The other challenge that I have for all of you that work in hospitals, push your chief nursing officer in your nursing education department to mandate training in end-of-life care, because it is very unsettling for us as nurses if we're not prepared, even when we are, as Dr. Jeffers' research showed, to confront, to initiate those discussions. It's painful because it also talks about our own mortality. So we need to come to grips with our own mortality, but we also need to have that education and that training and that ability or opportunity, I should say, to look inside and address our own values, concerns, and fears so that we are ready when that comes. So again, thank you, Dr. Jeffers. We're going to move on to our annual meeting, so if you'll give me 2 seconds, I will change the slides. As the current and outgoing president, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2017 annual meeting of the Chi Alpha chapter at American Sentinel University for scholarship, leadership, and service. The meeting is, as we said earlier, is being video streamed also, and I welcome those that are attending online. Let me give you an overview of the Chi Alpha chapter and how STTI how an STTI chapter functions. Chi Alpha was chartered in July 2013. Currently, only 2 of the board officers are charter members of Chi Alpha, those being myself and Chris Cowell, our chapter treasurer. So Chi Alpha is a relatively young organization within the STTI Society with 352 active members as of May 31st of this year. And this includes the 51 new members that will be inducted this evening. Because Chi Alpha is a virtual chapter, since American Sentinel is an online university, and we have students and professors and members all over the nation and the world, the chapter faces challenges that brick and mortar chapters do not. One such challenge is keeping chapter members engaged and increasing the participation of our existing and new members. The structure of a STTI chapter is made up primarily of its members, who are guided by boards of directors, 2 delegates who are appointed by the chapter to STTI to represent the chapter at STTI elections throughout the year, and 2 delegates who attend the biannual STTI convention, which is held every 2 years, therefore biannual. 2017 is an STTI convention year. In addition, each chapter has 2 standing committees, the Governance Committee and the Leadership Succession Committee. Chapters can also set up other committees and task forces. This year, as I take over Chi Alpha chapter's Leadership Succession Committee, I would like to set up a task force to define additional chapter officer roles, and I challenge you to join that committee or task force with me. All required positions on the board of directors are mandated by STTI bylaws, which then filter down into each chapter's own bylaws. These bylaws are updated every 2 years based on the STTI bylaw changes which are made at the biannual convention. Officers must be active members of both STTI and the Chi Alpha chapter, or the respective chapters. Members may belong to more than one chapter. The Leadership Succession Committee gathers nominations for candidates for open positions, and elections are held by secret ballot in the spring for the Chi Alpha chapter. The officers are the ones that can vote on issues concerning the chapter each year. Nominated delegates vote on STTI matters throughout the year and at the biannual. The officer terms are for 2 years, with the exception of the president-elect position, which can be for 1 year. The president-elect automatically becomes president at the end of the president's 2-year term. Officers' terms are staggered. So this year, the members of the Chi Alpha chapter were scheduled to vote on the treasurer, leadership committee chair, governance committee chair, and 1 governance committee member positions, and possibly the president-elect position. Last year's president-elect becomes president for STTI for the year 2017-2019. In 2018, the members are scheduled to vote on the president-elect position if one was not elected the previous year, the vice president, the counselor, the secretary, 2 leadership succession members, and 1 governance committee. However, if an officer does not finish his or her term, then a replacement can be elected for the remaining term. Officers have responsibilities. The basic responsibilities are attending monthly board meetings, chapter communication, and activities. The latter has been a challenge again for our chapter because our officers live all over the country, and attendance at the annual meeting and installation of officers has been an issue. The installation of officers, as will be done this evening, is mostly done virtually. I thank all those of you who are present to witness the installation of our new officers. At this time, I would like to introduce you to Chi Alpha chapter officers who are on their 2nd year of their term. I will start, however, with the one exception. Dr. Monica Kidder, our current vice president, had to resign effective July 1st, which is our fiscal year. We are July 1st to end June 30th. I added another year, a date of June. So she had to resign. And at this point, I will install Dr. Amber Pyatt as the new Chi Alpha chapter vice president for the 1-year term that is left on Dr. Monica Kidder's term. Amber was duly elected in early June during the chapter's elections. Congratulations and welcome to the team, Amber. Remaining on the board for 1 more year are Dr. Don Grail, who is our current secretary, Dr. Sandra Cleveland, who is the counselor, as well as Dr. Ann Curtis and Dr. Melissa Penner, who are members of the Leadership Succession Committee, and Dr. Kristen Schmidt, who is a member of the Governance Committee. And now for the exciting part. It is my pleasure to install the new elected board officers. Dr. Christine Olam will follow me as chapter president after being president-elect during the last year. Dr. Chris Cowell will be treasurer. He was re-elected after holding the position since the chapter chartering in 2013. Myself will be chair of the Leadership Succession Committee. Eugenia Bracero will be chair of the Governance Committee. And I invite Dr. Kathy Cullowa to join me on stage in the front, as she has been re-elected as a member of the Governance Committee, which she has chaired for the last 2 years. Now, let us welcome all of the new and continuing officers of the Chi Alpha chapter. I hope that you will join us as officers in the coming year. I will quickly present a few reports from our different committees. The treasurer is responsible for overseeing the finances of the chapter. The treasurer files the 990 tax report each fall. This year, the chapter donated $1 for each active chapter member to Stti Foundation. And at this time, it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Bonnie Schaefer to the front as our recipient of our $500 scholarship. Dr. Schaefer will use those funds to present at the Stti International Research Conference in Ireland. Congratulations, Dr. Schaefer, who's also graduating with her doctoral degree tomorrow. The chapter counselor is responsible for identifying and inviting new chapter members. This year we had 666 American Central University students meet the criteria for membership for Stti and the Chi Alpha chapter. They were invited to join, and 51 students accepted the invitation and will be inducted later this evening. And there is a small reception as well for them. Because we are all over the country, it is hard to get everybody here, which is one of the frustrations I've had as president, is not being able to physically hand over the certificates to each inductee. The Governance Committee is responsible for keeping the bylaws updated and have also been working in the last year on policies and procedures for the chapter. As chapter president is only as good as its fellow officers. I have been very fortunate to have had a great mentor, Dr. Sandra Wise, who founded the chapter and was the charter president for 1 year and then vice president. I thank her for her unending support and education.
This isn't part of it. So if you need to delete that on the recording, that's fine. So, but I want to say, I've been with Alice a couple years and learning my role and stuff, and sometimes people are behind the scenes doing quite a lot of things, and I just, she does so many things to keep this chapter strong and going, and I just want to, in behalf of our committee and for our chapter, thank her for all her hard work. And there's a lot of things she's done that I don't know, but just being on the committee, it's amazing. And sometimes those people are not appreciated enough. And just, I want to thank you in behalf of our committee and our chapter.
I want to also thank all of the officers that I've worked with since 2013, when I was president-elect. Let me just change what's. On June the 1st of this year, the chapter received its first STTI recognition. We received the recognition through the Showcase Regional Excellence for the chapter's efforts to fulfill the STTI presidential call to action in 2015 and 2016. So on behalf of all the members and the officers last year, I want to thank them. Now last thing I want to do is to thank the current board officers that have made this last year one of growth for the chapter. This past year, in January 2017, the chapter started having monthly journal club presentations at its monthly meetings. I want to thank Dr. Chris Cole, Dr. Don Grail, Dr. Ann Curtis, Dr. Melissa Penner, Dr. Sandra Cleveland, Dr. Kathy Kolowa, and her committee members, Drs. Kristen Schmidt and Colette McLaughlin, Dr. Monica Kidder, whom I will greatly miss. I only had the opportunity to work with her for 1 year, and Dr. Christine Ullum, who takes over as the new chapter president. And in my parting words, I want to thank them for their commitment and leadership and support. I want to point out that we do have the chapter has a Facebook page, and that is a good way for all the members to keep up with our activities and follow the chapter. And also you can go to the STTI website and follow its activities. There are easy ways, even for those of us that are virtual, to keep in touch with where nursing leadership, scholarship, and service is going and what opportunities there are out there. And also, do not forget the STTI Biannual Convention in Indianapolis from October 28th through November 1st. Our chapter delegates will be Dr. Kathy Kolowa, whom you've met, and Dr. Christine Ullum, our president, our new president. Consider being a chapter delegate in 2 years. You do not have to be an officer to be a delegate. Does anyone have any questions about the annual report? or anything that I've mentioned. So we're going to get started. It's a very formal process, all dictated by Stti, and so bear with me as I review a lot of things. Now, has everyone who's being inducted initialed, or added their name to this sheet? Okay. So basically, if I see correctly, there's Kathleen Delaney is not here. Tanya Harder. Or Carmelita, Francesca Savage. Okay. All right, so we'll get started. Again, good evening for those of you that may not have been here earlier. My name is Maria Alice Masciarelli. I am the current president of the Chi Alpha chapter. And I would like to welcome you all to the Honor Society of Nursing, Sigma Theta Tau International Chi Alpha Chapter Induction Ceremony. It is with pleasure that I have you all here. I would like to take a moment to introduce our chapter leaders. Actually, there's one here, and that is Dr. Kathy Koloa, right there, who is our chair of the chapter governance committee. Let me begin our induction by telling you about our great nursing organization into which you are all being inducted. For more than 90 years, Sigma Theta Tau International, or Stti, has been recognizing and celebrating excellence in scholarship, leadership, and service. Those of you who have been here all evening have heard that over and over again, so I hope you won't forget it. Within the nursing and midwifery disciplines. The Honors Society was founded in 1922 by 6 nursing students at Indiana University. From those 6 founding members, our organization has grown to more than 135,000 active members in over 90 countries around the world. Our organization has more than 500 chapters worldwide, which is why if you ever have the opportunity to attend the biannual, do not miss it. It is hair-raising. It is where you can see the power of nursing. And it's not just in our back door, it is all over the world. And to see the different struggles that we as nurses all go through, but the universality of a lot of the issues. Stti also collaborates with several global organizations to improve the health of the world's people, including representation in the United Nations. Imagine, we as nurses are part of the United Nations. This offers members the opportunity to extend their reach outside of their own communities. We are excited and filled with pride to welcome 51 new inductees here today into our diverse and global membership. Congratulations on being selected because of your scholarship. Stti members are leaders at all levels of healthcare industry. Stti only extends membership to students of baccalaureate or graduate level programs who have demonstrated superior academic achievement, academic integrity, and professional leadership potential, and to nurse leaders, candidates exhibiting exceptional achievements in nursing. Our membership includes top-notch nursing executives, clinicians, educators, researchers, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and others. You are among this distinguished group of nurses, students, and professionals who have met or exceeded the rigorous standards required to receive an invitation to join STTI and our chapter, and you truly deserve our congratulations. The leadership and scholarship that you have displayed represent the essence of the society. You are Sigma Theta Tau. We are Sigma Theta Tau. Now let me tell you what that means. Sigma Theta Tau. The three Greek words meaning love, courage, and honor. These Greek letters were chosen by our founders to be the Honor Society's name, as they believe them to be the enduring values that are the root of our nursing profession. Our crest, which adorns your membership certificate, symbolizes these enduring values, reminding us of our commitment to wisdom and discernment as represented by the I, and I meaning the I, not the letter I, service, professional endeavor, and strength of leadership as represented by the pillars of stone at the right and left, and knowledge as represented by the lamp. Our key, embedded in the membership pin, reminds us of our charge to uphold love, courage, and honor, and is the symbol of scholarship. The cup denotes the satisfaction of professional life. The circle, with its 6 stars, represent each of our founders. The lamp is Nightingale's lamp of knowledge, and the letters in black represent our charge. Remember, our key symbolizes your commitment to nursing excellence. The purpose of this ceremony is not only to honor you as new member and celebrate your successes, but it also serves as our pledge to you to support you throughout your nursing career and to be a lifelong resource to you. So remember, STTI and your Chi Alpha chapter. This support will come in part through the opportunity to participate in STTI's communities of interest, mentoring programs, and academies. You will also have access to benefits such as continuing nursing education, the Journal of Nursing Scholarship, worldviews on evidence-based nursing, and reflections on nursing leadership. Use the STTI website to find out more about all of these exciting resources. Your induction is not the end, the culmination of your scholarly or professional achievements. Instead, your induction signifies the beginning of your membership journey, the start of your involvement within a global network of peers and mentors who are here to guide and support you wherever your nursing career may take you. Please stay engaged with STTI and your chapter. At this time, we will receive into membership the 51 outstanding new members. Inductees, present or online, please stand. Please accept the privileges and responsibilities of membership in the Honor Society of Nursing, Sigma Theta Tau International, by repeating after me. I accept membership in Sigma Theta Tau International. And I pledge to fulfill its commitment to nursing excellence, knowledge, service, and leadership throughout my career. Inductees, please be seated. Okay, now it's time for the actual process of being inducted, other than the fact that you already pledged to follow our charge. New members will come forward when your name is called to receive your certificate and then sign your name in the Chi Alpha chapter record of membership and to receive your honor cords, which is a new membership reward for those that attend the induction ceremony. As you come up, please proceed from my left, where you will first be pinned and receive your cords from Dr. Kolowa. Then you will sign the chapter induction book. After that, I will present you with your certificate. Family members may take pictures throughout the process and let us know if we need to slow down a little bit. All right, so we'll start with the first person. I first call on Marilyn Dunbar. The next inductee is Linda Burnell. The next person is Monica Dalton Cole. Next one, Trisha Davison. Stacy Marie McDonald. Again, don't be shy if you have family members taking pictures. Let us know. This is an important moment in your career. Sherry Miller. Nancy Ruth Siebert. Rachel Ann Williams Cooper. Come back here and get your picture. Get it? Got it. We need to be more assertive as nurses. Michelle Lynn Wyckoff. Karen Robinson. Angela Henderson. Catherine Moore. Lauren Mulroney. Shannon Scott. Carla Hetzel. Nadine Atkinson. Before I read the names of the inductees who unfortunately could not attend, is there anyone that I forgot or anyone else that needs to be inducted?
I also wanted to say one thing. Of the people that are here, just like our committee, they're from all over the United States.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
So awesome.
Yes, it is wonderful to have such a diverse chapter. So additional inductees are Kathleen Delaney, Tanya Harder, Carmelita Francesca Savage, Lynn Alexander Klima, Marvin Aviador, and I hope I don't mispronounce him, please forgive me if I do, Cooper Ann Baker, Janelle Basswright, Kimberly Monique Nicole Brown, Kayla Jo Castro, Emily Elizabeth Chavez, Eileen Kaur, Martha M. Dibble, Ernie Janet Fitzgerald, Tatum Joy Girdes, Sarah Gray, Eileen Gruss, Joan Gutierrez, Shona Sue Hansen, James Leonard Hermanson Parker, Janet Houston. There are a few more. Benita Hayes Smith, Melissa Ann Taylor, Annalise Theron, Joanna Tudisco, Sarah R. Velasquez, Aaron Vitale, Tanya Wade, Lisa K. Webster, Julia Weinberg, Christine Wenzel, Deborah K. Wilson. These certificates have either been mailed by STTI to the inductees or we will be mailing them. Please help me congratulate these new Sigma Theta Tau International members with our applause. Now that you are official members of STTI, the opportunities to become involved, to grow and develop as leaders, and to contribute to the nursing profession are virtually endless. Personally, I have enjoyed being actively involved by being an officer of the chapter board of directors for the last 4 years. By helping share evidence-based practices through the chapter journal club and through our educational forums. Monica Kidder, our chapter vice president, also participated in STTI Leadership Academy. Hope you will also join my task force. This is a great way for you to start to learn more about our chapter. And please sign up if you are interested. If not, I will email you. Each of you will experience membership in your own way. In fact, STTI membership is an experience that is yours to design. You will only get as much of your membership as you put in and how much you participate. I hope you will make use of the many opportunities that membership has to offer. Not only do you have the opportunity to be involved locally, but there are opportunities to participate in this global organization on a regional and international level as well. Each biennium, as I mentioned earlier, STTI has its biennial convention and installs a new president at the international level. This past biennium, we proudly installed Dr. Kathy Catrambone and introduced her as the 31st president of Sigma Theta Tau International. As I mentioned, and I cannot mention it enough, this year in late October, STTI members will be installing a new president at their biennial that will be held in Indianapolis. Each president presents a call to action to help guide members and chapters as we strive to fulfill our mission. President Catrambone's call asked us to influence, advance global health and nursing through advocacy, policy, lifelong learning, and philanthropy. Advocacy is the act or process of pleading for, supporting, or recommending a cause or course of action. Advocacy is a central element in nursing, as we discussed in our discussion after Dr. Jeffers' presentation. From the moment we enter the profession, we advocate for patients. We give voice to what is needed to promote the safety and well-being of those we serve. We advocate for individuals, communities, populations. We advocate for rights, causes, and issues. We possess the knowledge, skills, relationships, and the passion to be effective advocates. Now is the time to embrace advocacy, to amplify our voice, to bring together stakeholders, and to exert influence to achieve the changes needed in healthcare, to improve the health of our communities, nation, and world. As you know, the U.S. does not rate very high in population health. We are also called upon to bring together communities and stakeholders to collaborate on policy discussion and action. We bring credibility to the message and influence decision makers. We are challenged to influence and advance in policy in the areas where we live and practice. Embrace opportunities to create, influence, evaluate, and change health policy within your practice environment, professional organizations, health associations, and your community. Develop relationships with local legislators, ministers of health, and administrators. Leverage professional networks and social media to share important changes being made in the policy arena. One of the things that I have done is in 2011, I founded a nonprofit clinic that cares for the low-income population and the homeless. So it is possible. And I could use service from our nursing leaders in our community. And this is in Texas. Advance through lifelong learning. This change urges each of us to engage in lifelong learning. Our learning does not stop the moment we get our nursing license or our college degree. Lifelong learning is by pursuing advanced education certifications and by taking advantage of the STTI knowledge, products, and services and the chapter's semi-annual educational forums, which are this fall and spring. The spring one is live here in Aurora, and also our monthly journal clubs. The last charge presented to us is one of philanthropy, which means giving of your time and talent, in addition to monetary support. Consider performing 90 minutes of service in honor of STTI STTI Founders Day on the 5th of October each year. Volunteer, support STTI's future, leadership, and research funds, and advocate for the STTI mission. I would encourage you all to learn more and participate in fulfilling President Catron Bone's call to action by visiting STTI's website, www.nursingsociety.org. Also, in the fall, we will have a new call to action when our new president gets installed, and I am dying to hear what that will be. I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the friends and family who are here to celebrate this special occasion with all of us. It is because of your love and support that these new members were able to reach their level of success, and you should take pride in the role you have played. We often neglect those that stand by us nurses through our training, our trials and tribulations that we sometimes bring home, our frustrations, and so on. As we conclude this ceremony, I want to once again congratulate and welcome our newest members of the Sigma Theta Tau International and challenge you to remain engaged members of the chapter. Together, we can improve the health of our patients, our communities, our nation, and the world. Now I want to thank you all for coming, and our food, I can see out of the corner of my eye over there, is ready, so please enjoy the rest of the evening. Congratulations to those of you graduating tomorrow, and enjoy your day. Thank you.